Hi students, good afternoon. So today let us start our supplementary lesson with the photographer written by Stephen Leacock. Okay. So Macavity நம்ம இன்னும் figures of speech complete பண்ணல. Anyhow அந்த poem வந்து reduced syllabusல it is not in the portion. So leave it. Now let us start our fourth supplementary lesson with the photographer written by Stephen Leacock. Okay. So let us see about the author first. Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock. It is his full name. Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock is his full name. So FRSC means Fellowship of Royal Society of Canada. So இது ஒரு award மாதிரி. So for whom it will be given means it will be given for the persons who had achieved in the field of arts. Okay. Humanity, arts and the ஃபீல்டில் அச்சீவ் பண்ணவங்களுக்கு கொடுக்குற ஒரு அவார்ட் மாதிரி FRSC. Okay. So Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock, he is shortly called as Stephen Leacock. He was born in 1986. So his lifetime is from 1869. It is wrong in the PDF. So it is 1869. He was born in 1869. So he was born in 1869 and was died in 1944. Okay. So he was a Canadian teacher, political scientist, writer and humorist. So he was a teacher in Canada, Canadian teacher, political scientist. So what is the meaning of political scientist is a person who studies the origin and the development of politics, political systems, the person who researches about the political ideas, governments, trends in the politics, policies in the government and the related things in the political side is called as a political scientist. So he was a political scientist and also he was a writer and humorist. Humorist means a person who writes humors. Okay, that is the works written with comedy, that is humor. Okay. So he was a Canadian teacher, political scientist, writer and humorist. He was educated at Upper Canada College in Toronto and the University of Toronto, from which he graduated in 1891. So he got his education in the Upper Canada College in Toronto and the University of Toronto, from which he got his graduation during the year 1891. He received a fellowship in political economy and took his PhD in 1903. So he got a fellowship in the political economy and he started his PhD, he got his PhD in the year 1903. So between the years 1915 and 1925, he was the best known English speaking humorist in the world. So in between the time period of 1915 and 1925, he was one of the best known English speaking humorist in the world. Humorist means like a comedian. He is known for his light humor along with the criticism of people's follies. So follies abdina, the foolish things done by the common people. So people pandra chinna foolish activities, silly activities, that is called as follies. Okay. So he is known for his light humor. Light humor means that is the work filled with cheerful things, happy things, with light comedies. Okay. Light humor means light comedies. Along with the criticism that, and also he will be criticizing the people's foolishness, silly behaviors like that. So Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town, Arcadian Adventures, With the Idle Rich. So Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town, Arcadian Adventures, With the Idle Rich, Economic Prosperity in the British Empire, The Dawn of Canadian History, Moonbeams from the Larger Lunacy, The Unsolved Riddle of Social Justice, My Discovery of England, Wet, wit and dry humor are some of his brilliant writings. Okay. So, Sunshine Sketches of a Little Town, Arcadian Adventures with the Idle Rich, Economic Prosperity in the British Empire, The Dawn of Canadian History, Moonbeams from the Larger Lunacy, The Unsolved Riddle of Social Justice, My Discovery of England, Wit and Dry Humor are some of his intelligent, that is very brilliant writings of Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock. Now let us get inside the lesson. So, let us see the warm-up part. Photographs capture memorable moments. They fill us with nostalgia. So, what is mean by nostalgia means? It means memories. Okay. So, why we are capturing photographs? That is to keep it as a memory, right? So, discuss the following questions. What are the occasions when photographs are taken? So, when we see about this, in those days, if we want to take a photo, we have to go for a studio and take a photo. But nowadays it is not. The photographers have lost their importance because of the mobile phones. So, ஒரு ஸ்பெஷல் அக்கேஷனுக்கு தான் ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கணுங்கிறது கிடையாது. nowadays photos are taken in all the things இல்லையா? So, what are the occasions when photographs are taken? So, like birthday parties, marriage functions, any celebrations during temple festivals, like that you can fill in the boxes. So, why are photographs taken? For example, to freeze our favorite moments, that is to keep our favorites moment as our memory. So, you can write your own views here. Why are photographs taken? Now, here is a story with the photographer when the narrator visits a studio to have his photograph taken. His experience with the professional photographer turns out to be an unforgettable one. So, here we are going to read a story called as With the Photographer, where the narrator, who is the narrator here? Stephen P.H. Butler Leacock is the narrator. He visits a studio for what? To have his photograph taken. So, he is visiting a studio to take his photograph. His experience with the professional photographer turns out to be an unforgettable one. So, here we are going to see about his experience he had faced in the studio along with the professional photographer. So, it was an unforgettable memory for him. For whom? For the narrator. So, let us get into the story. I want my photograph taken, I said. The photographer looked at me without enthusiasm. He was a drooping man in a grey suit with the dim eye of a natural scientist, but there is no need to describe him. Everybody knows what a photographer is like. Okay, so the narrator is going to the photographer and he is asking, I want my photograph taken. So he is telling that I want my photograph to be, my picture to be taken. The photographer looked at me without enthusiasm. So the photographer is looking at the narrator without any interest, without any enthusiasm. He was a drooping man. So here he refers to the photographer. So drooping means bending. So he is slightly bending. ஏன் அப்படின்னா ஃபோட்டோகிராஃபர்ஸ்லாம் அவங்க வந்து அந்த என்ன சொல்கிறது, ஸோ அந்த ஃபோட்டோ பிக்சர்ஸ் எடுக்க வரவங்களை உட்கார வச்சு ஆல்டர் பண்ணி அந்த பெண்ட் பண்ணி ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கிறதுலேயே இன் தோஸ் டேஸ் த ஃபோட்டோகிராஃபர்ஸ் வில் பி லுக்கிங் ட்ரூப்பிங் பெண்டிங். ஓகே, ஸோ he was a drooping man in a grey suit. Grey suit means in a grey colored suit, in a grey colored dress. So he was a drooping man in a grey suit, that is grey colored suit, with the dim eye of a natural scientist. So, and also his eye is looking dim. Dimna vision with less vision kadayadu. Just it is, they are describing the eye as it is dim looking. So somebody's eyes we can see, apdi paatale eyes will be very bright illaya. So like that his eyes are dim looking with the dim eye of a natural scientist. So like a natural scientist, he is looking like a natural scientist. But there is no need to describe him. Everybody knows what a photographer is like. So there is no need for much description about the photographer, because for a photographer nale how they will be looking. Okay, everybody knows it very well. Sit there, he said, and wait. Okay, sit there and wait, he said. So what he is telling, the photographer is telling to the narrator, go and sit there and wait for some time and wait. I waited an hour. So for how long so the narrator is waiting? He is waiting almost for an hour. Okay. I read the Ladies' Companion for 1912, the Girls' Magazine for 1902, and the Infant's Journal for 1888. I began to see that I had done an unwarrantable thing in breaking in on the privacy of this man's scientific pursuits with a face like mine. So the narrator is asking the photographer to wait for an hour. So he had waited, that is the narrator had waited almost for an hour. So in that meantime, he was reading the books like the Ladies' Companion, which was published in 1912, the Girls' Magazine, which was published in 1902, and the Infant's Journal, which was published in 1888. So he is reading all these things in between that time. I began to see that I had done an unwarrantable thing in breaking in on the privacy of this man's scientific pursuits with a face like mine. So, what the narrator is beginning to think is, as he is waiting for an hour, he is thinking that he had done an unwarrantable means something, some illegal or wrongful act, some wrong act, in breaking on the privacy of this man's scientific pursuits with a face like mine. So pursuit means quest. So the narrator is thinking that he had done something wrong by interfering in the privacy of such a photographer. Okay, by asking to take a photograph of a face like mine. Okay, so this is what the narrator is thinking. After an hour, the photographer opened the inner door. So after the narrator is waiting almost for an hour, the photographer is opening his inner door. Come in, he said severely. So he is asking the narrator to get inside very severely, with a severe face. Okay. I went into the studio. Sit down, said the photographer. So as he is getting inside, the photographer is asking him to sit down. I sat down in a beam of sunlight filtered through a sheet of a factory cotton hung against a frosted skylight. Okay, so inside the narrator is sitting in front of him, sunlight. So he is sitting in front of a natural sunlight, but that sunlight is filtered through a sheet of factory cotton hung against a frosted sunlight. So the sunlight is not directly falling on the narrator's face. So instead, in between, it is blocked by a sheet of a factory cotton. It is blocked by a cotton curtain or a cotton cloth, like that. Okay. The photographer rolled a machine into the middle of the room and crawled it into it. See here, it is this. Look at this picture. It is looking like a machine. What is that? That camera is looking like a machine. So he is rolling it to the center of the room. So he is rolling the machine to the center of the room, and he had crawled inside. So in those days, in the olden days, if you see the cameras, it will be very, very big. See, this thing is the camera. See, inga or cloth madri irukku illaya, it is a black colored cloth. So the photographers enna பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, they will be keeping their head inside that black colored cloth. So why they are using black colored cloth means so that the light outside will not be visible inside. So this is the method of technology for taking photograph in those days, in the olden days. Okay, this is the camera in those days. So the photographer rolled a machine into the middle of the room and he had crawled into it from behind. So he is getting inside that machine. He was only in it a second, just time enough for one look at me, and then he was out again, tearing at the cotton sheet and the window panes with a hooked stick, apparently frantic for light and air. So he was only in it just a second. For just a second he was inside that machine. So எவ்வளோ நேரம் இருக்காருன்னா, just time enough for one look at me, just for having a one glance at the narrator, and then he was out again, and then he is coming out again. tearing the cotton sheet and the window pans with a hooked stick, apparently frantic for light and air. So he is adjusting the window pans and the cotton sheet because he wants some more light and ventilation, that is light and air. Then he crawled back into the machine again and drew a little black cloth over himself. This time he was very quiet in there. I knew that he was praying and I kept still. Okay, so after that what he is doing, after adjusting the window glasses and the cotton sheets அதெல்லாம் adjust பண்ணிட்டு again he is crawling back into the machine. Crawl அப்படின்னா எதை நம்ம crawlனு சொல்லுவோம்? What is that? Snakes will crawl and small insects will crawl. அந்த ஊர்ந்து போகும் இல்லையா, all those we will call as crawling. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி இவரும் என்ன பண்ணுறாரு, இந்த கேமராக்கு பின்னாடி சைடு போய் he is keeping that black cloth over his face. Okay. Then he crawled back into the machine again and drew a little black cloth over himself. So drew a little black cloth over himself. This time he was very quiet in there. So this time he was very quiet inside that machine. The machine குள்ள ரொம்ப என்ன பண்றாரு, அமைதியா இருக்காரு. I knew that he was praying. So what the narrator is thinking? The narrator is thinking that he was praying and I kept still. Kept still means without any movement. I kept still. When the photographer came out at last, he looked very grave and shook his head. So, when the photographer came out of that machine, he was looking very grave. Grave means looking very serious and shook his head. He is shaking his head. The face is quite wrong, he said. The photographer is telling that the face is very wrong. The face, it is not good. It is looking very wrong. I know, I answered quietly. I have always known it. So what the narrator is answering is, I know, yes, I know that my face is not good. I have always known it. So it is my face. So it will not be much beautiful. அப்படிங்கிறது I always know it. He sighed. Sighed அப்படின்னா இப்படி மூச்சு இழுத்து விடுறது, பெருமூச்சு விடுறதுன்னு சொல்லி, that is called as sighed. He sighed, that is breathing deeply. That is called as sighed. I think, he said, the face would be better 3/4 full. So what the photographer is telling, the face will be better if it is 3/4 full. ஒரு 3/4 sizeல, ஒரு 3/4 sizeல இருந்திருந்தா the face will be better. The photographer is telling. I am sure it would. I said enthusiastically. So maybe, I am sure. So if it is 3/4 full, definitely the face might be good. I think, I am sure. I said enthusiastically. So enthusiastically means interestingly. For I was glad. Glad means happy. Happy to find that the man had such a human side to him. Okay. So the narrator, the narrator is happy because he is thinking that, photographers also have such a human side, humanity. So would yours. In fact, I continued, how many faces one sees that are apparently hard, narrow, limited, but the minute you get them 3/4 full, they get wide, large, almost boundless in. Okay, so boundless means limitless. So the narrator is telling to the photographer that you might have seen many faces because many persons will be coming to take photographs. So you might be seeing many faces looking hard, narrow, limited. But the minute you capture them in your camera with 3/4 full, they will be looking very wide, large and limitless. So likewise, he is conversing with the photographer. But the photographer had ceased to listen. Ceased means he is not listening to, stopped. Ceased means actually stopped. The photographer had stopped to listen to all this talkings or the explanations given by the narrator. He came over and took my head in his hands and twisted it sideways. So what he is doing, he is going to the narrator, he is catching his head with his hands and he is twisting it sideways and he is turning the face sideways. I thought he meant to kiss me and I closed my eyes. So the narrator is thinking that, he is coming to kiss him and he is closing his eyes. But I was wrong. But he's not coming to kiss him. Actually, he was coming to adjust his face. He twisted my face as far as it would go and then stood looking at it. So, twist அப்படினா இப்படி பிடிச்சி முறுக்கிறது சொல்லுவோம், that is called as twisting. So, he's twisting the narrator's face as far as it is possible, and then he started looking at the narrator's face. He sighed again. So, மறுபடியும் என்ன பண்ணுறாரு? He is sighing again. Again, he is breathing, having a deep breath. மறுபடியும் ஒரு பெருமூச்சு விடுறாரு. I don't like the head, he said. So, what the photographer is saying, I'm not liking the head. Then he went back to the machine and took another look. So, then he is again going to the camera and he is looking one more look. Open the mouth a little, he said. So, what the photographer is asking? He is asking the narrator to open his mouth a little. I started to do so. So, the narrator is also opening his mouth. Close it, he added quickly. So, again he is telling that close your mouth. Then he looked again. Again he is looking from the from the camera. The ears are bad. The ears are looking very bad. He said, droop them a little more. So, droop அப்படின்னா இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் இப்படி குறுகலாக வச்சுக்கிறோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். So, how is it possible to droop the ears? Definitely it is not possible இல்லையா? Thank you. So, something the narrator is trying. So, he is telling thank you. Now the eyes. Roll them in under the lids. So, roll your eyes under the lids. How is it possible? So, the photographer is asking the narrator to roll his eyes under the lids. Put the hands on the knees. So, keep your hands on the knees, please. And turn the face just a little upward. Okay. And turn your face little upward. Yes, that's better. Now just expand the lungs. Now expand your lungs. So, and hump the neck, that's it. And just contract the waist. Ha. And twist the hip up toward the elbow now. I still don't quite like the face. It's just a trifle too full. But see what all the photographer is asking. First he is telling the ears are very bad. Droop them a little more. Then he is telling, now the eyes. So, roll your eyes under the lids. Again he is asking, keep your hands on the knees, please. And turn the face a little upward. Yes, that's better. So, narrator is doing like that and then he is telling, yes, that is better. Now, just expand the lungs. Okay, so, அப்படினா அப்படிதான். That is the meaning. Okay. And hump the neck, that's it. And just contract the waist. So, the இடுப்பை இப்படி waist வந்து contract பண்ணி வச்சுக்கோங்க. Ha, yes, அவ்வளோதான் அப்படிதான். And twist the hip up towards the elbow. Now, இது எவ்வளோ correction சொல்லிட்டு, what the photographer is again telling, I don't quite like the face. Still I am not, so I still don't quite like the face. Still I am not liking your face. It's just a trifle too full. Okay, trifle means it is bit too full. It is looking still very big. I swung myself round on the stool. The narrator had become very tired. Okay, stop, I said with emotion, but I think with the dignity. So, the narrator is asking the photographer, stop everything. Okay. He thought that he said with emotion. So, ஒரு ஆங்கிரியாக சொல்லிட்டோம் அப்படின்னு photographer narrator நினைக்கிறாரு. But not. He had said it with dignity, that is with some respect. This face is my face. It is not yours. It is mine. I have lived with it for 40 years and I know it's false. I know it's out of drawing. I know it was not made for me. But it is my face, the only one I have. I was conscious of a break in my voice. So, என்ன சொல்றாரு? The photographer is telling to the narrator is telling to the photographer, this face is my face. It is not yours. In the face, it is not your face, it is mine. I have lived with its face for 40 years. I know all the faults in my face, all the defects in my face. I know it's out of drawing. I know that my face is out of shape. I know it was not made for me, but it is my face, the only one face which I have. Okay, I have only one face. This is my face. I know that it is wrong. I was conscious of a break in my voice, but I went on such as it is. I have learned to love it, and this is my mouth, not yours. So I have learned to love my face. This mouth is my mouth, and it is not yours. These ears are mine, and if your machine is too narrow, here I started to rise from the seat. So by talking all these things, he started to get up from his seat. Okay, so he got little bit angry, the narrator, and he is telling, this face is my face. I am living with this face for the past 40 years. I have learned to love my face, and I have started to live with my face. This mouth is mine, this ears are mine, this eyes are mine, everything is not yours. Snick. The photographer had pulled a string. The photograph was taken. Okay. So now the photographer, when the narrator is trying to get up from the seat, the photographer is pulling a string and he is telling that the photograph was taken. I could see the machine still staggering from the shock. Okay, that machine was still, as the photograph was taken and the photo எடுத்ததுக்கு அப்புறம், the machine was vibrating. I think, said the photographer, pursing his lips in a pleased smile, that I caught the features just in a moment of animation. So animation means in some excitement. So அவர் இது மாதிரி எக்ஸைட்மெண்ட்டாக பேசிகிட்டு இருக்கும்போது, I have just captured your picture. So I said bitingly, features, you didn't think I could animate them, I suppose. But let me see the picture. என்னோட ஃபீச்சர்ஸை நீங்கள் அனிமேட் பண்ண முடியாதுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Okay, but anyhow, let me see the picture. Show me my photograph. Oh, there is nothing to see yet, he said. Who said? The photographer is telling. No, nothing to see. I have to develop the negative first. Come back on Saturday and I will let you see a proof of it. Okay, so I have to first develop the negative. So you come back on Saturday, I will let you see a proof of it. So I will show you a proof of your photograph. Okay, so actually the narrator is going to a photographer to take his photo, but the photographer is keeping on complaining about the face of the narrator. Okay, and he is telling to adjust all these things like his eyes, his ears, his nose, his hair, his mouth, his lips, everything he is asking him to adjust. Okay, at one point he is losing his temper. The narrator is losing his temper, and he is starting to argue with the photographer that this is my face, I have learned to love with it. This is my ears, I have learned to love with it. Okay, just capture my face as it is, like that. He is starting to he is getting little bit excited, and he is talking with the photographer, but the photographer is actually not bothered about any of these things, and in that excitement he had just captured the photograph. That is the picture of the narrator. So அந்த மெஷின் என்ன ஆகுது, அந்த ஃபோட்டோ எடுத்த உடனே it is vibrating. Okay, so the photographer is asking him to, the narrator is asking him to show the picture, but the photographer is telling, no, I have to develop the negative first. So come back on Saturday, I will show you the proof of it. Okay, so let me stop with this today. Hope every one of you have understood. Thank you.